How about that? Ooh, I don't know. She, um, every day we've been hanging out here. Every day my hair has just been getting stupider. But if I was the only guy on earth with stupid hair, which is often the case, um, where I'm one of a rare group of people that have really dumb hair, that's one thing. But now everybody has dumb hair, so I'm not sweating it the same. But today, so I've been getting on every day and just thinking, just sharing some thoughts and some ideas, and it's been fun. It's been really good. I've been able to expand some ideas, and it's been hitting me lately. I feel very grateful. I literally do what I love to do. I I watch martial arts. I study martial arts. I physically train martial arts. I describe it. I analyze it. I explain it to people to show them like how beautiful the art form is. And then while training it, I learn certain truths about it and I share that. And I expand that into the lessons that we can learn from martial arts and in different ways of thinking and general philosophy that you often learn by specializing in something you love. You by specializing in something you love, you tend to learn about bigger things, broader ideas, and you can sort of go across paradigms and take an idea that you learned from learning to be a chef, and you can take that idea and apply it to politics, right? This is what it is to study something deeply for a long period of time. And I think this is what everybody should do. And I know when I say that bluntly, it sounds, because I also try to avoid just opinion for opinion's sake. Cheers. A sidebar right now, man. Small treats. Don't you have so much more appreciation for them? Aren't you so much more grateful for the little treats right now? I used to get a coffee every single day on my way to work, and I took that shit for granted. Every day I would go and somebody would brew me this wonderful coffee and give it to me and serve me, and I would take and add the things just that I wanted. Now I'm so much more grateful for it. But so the thought today, there's always some thoughts and feedback, and I'm going to definitely. There's been a lot of push and pull with the community lately, ideas, feedback, questions, etc., and I really value that. And we're gonna do some of that today. But so my thought today is sort of the practical nature, sort of the functional nature, the reality-based nature of why it is it's important to pursue what you love. Now, I'm not just going to go into mumbo jumbo, rah rah, go get them. Like you got to live your dream, bro. Like that's not doing anybody any good. The world's full of a lot of that. That tends to give you a little boost of inspiration. Sometimes I can watch a 2 minutes of Anthony Robbins flying by on my Instagram or Gary Vaynerchuk or whoever and be like, yeah, let's go get it. But that's actually not that's not a lot of there's not it's not driven in truth and practicality, right? Although they are plenty. Both those guys, the examples that I gave and others like them, there's plenty of examples of truth. Um, so, but why, from a standpoint of success, should you be doing what you like? Now, here's what I want to throw out first. You got to define success for yourself. For a lot of people, success would be to make it, $75,000 a year, or 100,000, or 50,000, or whatever, and that could be a part of success. Although, definitely know that money doesn't lead to happiness. I think we all know that inherently. You're sure you can pull up in a boat, and that might be nice, but that's not the root of it. So, what is success to us? Well, happiness isn't so much a destination. Happiness is a byproduct of doing what you love. It's a byproduct of doing meaningful work, of learning things, of having a great relationships. This is what success is rooted in. And of course, and I really believe this, if you are worrying less about the specifics of money and income in the short term, you're probably going to make more of it in the long term anyways. When you're sitting there, it's like, oh man, I could either make nothing to do something really meaningful, or I can make $100 to do something that I don't believe in. Sometimes you need that 100. Other times you can sell something and just eat. You know, Other times you can earn something in a different way without having to do that. Whereas if you do the stuff that's important to you and stuff that you love, sometimes it helps grow your truth and your knowledge, your connection to things, connection to the audience, the customer, or whatever. But that's not where I'm going today. Where I'm going today is the idea that if we break down the root What makes somebody more successful? What will we make you successful at a job or a business or a hobby or a side hustle or whatever? Again, we have to disagree. We may disagree over what success is, but I think the answer to it, the shortest answer is, and maybe it's not that short, but what will you work the hardest at? What will you commit the deepest to? What will be the thing that you will push through when it gets difficult? What'll be the thing that you'll put extra hours into? Because don't think that just by going to school and getting a 3-year degree that now you got it easy. You just show up and half-ass it for 7 hours. You don't. Much the same way as I work 10 or 11 hours a day on my craft or on my skill, as does everyone you know that loves what they do. The people to just survive in almost every business now. And by survive, I don't just mean just scrape by, because then you're going to lose that job. Downsizing happens, things happen, changes it, that's gone. To be upper middle, which is where you want to be, you got to do a little more than everybody. Go work a little harder. That's become a truth of our society. We don't like to talk about that, but that is a function of capitalism as capitalism starts to mutate. As we are all in sort of competition, and we need to get that out of our brain and just be like, we are should all be in working hard and giving time and making an effort. And what will we do that with? And that's where the answer becomes simple. I'm If the world needs me to work 12 hours to just do okay, and I don't fucking like that, by the way. I don't think that's the way it should be. I don't think that's what we all want. I don't think we want to live in a world where, hey, I was told I only have to do 8 hours and I'll get this paycheck. And your boss is like, well, I'm going to need you to do this or you might get fired. And you're like, fuck, this is bullshit. But this is the shape that a capitalist society inevitably goes. And this is the society that we built. So this is where it's going. We all have to work a little harder, and that's bullshit. But what will you work hard at? The answer is you're fucking the thing you're passionate about. If the one turning point difference between success and failure, however you describe that, is extra effort and extra commitment, then they are going to do that only with the shit you love. So, ergo, ipso facto, that's what you should be doing. If when you're 16, you're like, I could go to school for 6 years to get that degree that my dad wants me to get, and I can kind of work. Somebody says I have a degree in sports science, and I worked as a trainer for many years, but I never considered it work. It was fun. That's what I'm getting at. I don't want to work for 12 hours a day. Neither do you. Nobody wants to work for 12 hours a day, but you will gladly spend 12 hours a day on that shit you love. That right there is the deep answer to the whole fucking equation. What will you work hard at? Advice for someone who constantly faces dead ends pursuing their passion, like constant injuries. You have to just keep reinventing what it is. So if your passion is something that the constant injury, so I had a question, it got constant injuries interfering, giving me dead ends. If it really is your passion, the injuries become part of the story. Josh Watkins, I believe it was Josh Watkins, wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way. The obstacle is the way. You've injured yourself repeatedly. Now, so all of a sudden your passion starts to starts to take shape with some of the reality. Let's say it was an athletic endeavor. By getting injured, you keep facing this thing. You are starting to develop specialized experience in injuries in your thing. Now you start to move that way, whether it's from a psychological standpoint, from a content standpoint, from a learning standpoint, from a teaching standpoint, from an invention standpoint. But that's what you're going to do if you do your passion. If I'm in the business of gray t-shirts, I'm not going to go in after work and figure out the answer to everything. But I am going to do that with martial arts. I am going to do that with learning martial arts, with studying fighting, because I'm obsessed. And that's the shit you should be working on. And I know this sounds feel goody. Oh, wouldn't it be great if everybody could do their passion? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's likely to be the only thing that will come easy to be for success. So let me throw out a few thoughts here. One, we're currently in a global pandemic. A lot of us feel like this is an exception, that there's a normal life and then there's this. This isn't an exception. This is ultra normal. Whether it's a global pandemic or a world war or some financial collapse or an environmental disaster or something, this happens. This is a part of human society. This is a part of civilization. This is a part of living, right? It's going through these things. Now, when we go through these things, a lot of lies become exposed. I'm not talking deep state bullshit. I'm talking about like the lie of stability. If I go to work for this company and I put in this many years and I get my pension, it will be stable. Boom. Pandemic hits, the whole thing's fucked. If I go to college and I get this degree, I'll be on Easy Street and then I'll get a mortgage and then I'll get an expensive truck. Boom, it's fucked up. You know, it's not fucked up. Doing the shit you love doing anyways. You're not going to lose the job. And I mean, if somebody collects fucking Tim Horton cups, there is a world today that exists in which that can be your job. And that world, quite simply, change in years. But currently, it's YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it is becoming an expert. It's collecting, it's buying and selling. I mean, all of these things exist to not only allow you to do what you love, but reward you for it. And again, this is the root of my thesis. Whatever you do, whatever you do, is going to require you to do more work than you ever believe is necessary to be stable as humanly possible in it. Whatever you do. So if you go to architecture school because you don't mind it and your dad's an architect and you think you should go, now if you fucking love it, you're gonna kill it. And I think I just hit my own reason. If you stumble your way into architecture school, it's not like architecture school isn't awesome. It's brilliant. It'll teach you the roots of becoming the thing you love. Here's the problem. You know, there's 10,000 architects and 3,000 of those are fucking obsessed. They go home every night and they're reading extra architecture books. They're watching TV. Everything's about architecture. All their websites there too. That's who I am. All I'm doing is studying different ways to study martial arts, which got me to an obsession about learning itself. How does it work? Why does it work? What happens when you learn? What does success really look like? And you know, the things you learn within a fight, how does that extrapolate to the things with which you compete with, you know, your own challenges and yourself? Let's see here. Heart surgery went bad. They blamed, I think I missed something there, and I think maybe it's a pun, so I'm not going to repeat it. My vision is also bad sometimes. Your passion carries its own energy for youth. This is true. So let's say you did go to architecture school or even medical school or fucking, you know, whatever. If you don't love it, you are going to get eclipsed by the people who love it. There's a company I worked at, it was called Fight Network, and it was about 3 to 4 years ago. And I started to find frustration at different times within the environment. Um, and a big part of it was every night I would go home and for 5, 6 hours, while people were playing video games, and not everybody, but like certain, you know, people in certain positions where, you know, you would have different differences of philosophy of how the thing would work. They might be playing video games or watching movies or being on Netflix or whatever. And I was there consuming, how does it work? Why does it work? Where is it going? What's the world of media going to look like in 2020? I was learning that. And as I learned it, I was frustrated by seeing, wait a second, they're not learning this. So they don't know where this is going. And they actually think I'm crazy. Maybe I'm a little crazy, but that's all right. But so these struggles start to take place. Now, had I stayed there, the battle would then be, how do I get them to see? But instead, the battle becomes, you know, one or someone in this equation is going to sever that relationship and you're going to move on. Later, the philosophies that you were at odds with, you can look at how they work 3 years later. You're like, holy fuck, I have on my second 100,000 followers on this particular platform, whereas the philosophy that they used have 10 or whatever the thing is. You can make comparisons to how it goes, but you will get into battles. You will be oppressed or at odds with or surpassed by the people who love what you're in, because there's a world driven by passion. So the only way you're going to be able to do well, stay stable, find some joy in it, do meaningful things, is to be in something you love and figure out what that is. You know, figure out what that is. Everybody I know, there's not a cool job in the world that you're looking at and thinking, that's amazing and it's probably easy and they're probably not working that hard. No such job exists. I have a call today with my friend who is the senior producer of a television channel, Jason. And you would look at it and go, fuck, that guy's job looks awesome. That guy's sitting there hanging out with sports people, coordinating all this shit. That guy's working 13 hours a day, every day. And it isn't just the shit you love. You'll do the extra weird emails, you'll do the scheduling, you'll make the spreadsheets, you'll do all that shit if it's driven by the thing you fucking love. Again, I'm not talking about go get it, man. You're entitled to your passion. I'm talking about from a practical standpoint, the only thing you're going to work really hard at is something you love. So pursue it. And right now in this time, again, this is not a weird time. This is not some on break time or some crazy curveball. Just because for 60 or 80 years there weren't these big interruptions to society, that's just good fortune. Everyone else in a lifetime or two, something like this happens. You know, there's World War II, there's, smallpox, and there's fucking environmental disaster, and there's, like all this shit is part of it. There's a giant, like, even just the technological change that will make a job obsolete. If your job starts to become obsolete, say you love, television. Well, television might become obsolete, but the roots of what you love, sports or making content that means something to people or whatever, the roots will continue and evolve, and you evolve with them. I'm a 51-year-old who's, fucking makes digital breakdowns on Instagram. Like 3 years ago, I didn't know how to edit video. But why did I do that? Because I'm fucking passionate about it. When the scenario under which I could make martial arts breakdown videos. 3 years ago, it required 6 people and days of work and giant cameras and lighting and makeup and fucking all that stuff. Now it's on my I can do it on my iPhone, you know? And I learned it, but I'm not learning? I'm not learning how to fucking invest money because it doesn't interest me. I'm not learning, although, you still have to stabilize the other parts of your life. So you learn bits and pieces, and studying anything deeply makes you understand other things a little more. But I'm not learning deeply about food. I eat food, not crazy about it. If you ask me to go and get into retail marketing, it's like, I'm not going to work really hard on that. I'm not going to go home at the end of the day and continue to consume it for 5 or 6 hours at night. I'm not going to go and figure out how to edit videos and break stuff down and put it on and grow with 100,000 Instagram followers or any of those things. I'm going to do that because I fucking love it and because I need to do it. Let's see, we got some questions. TV is obsolete. Internet killed it, as well as newspapers. Yeah. So then if you're in the TV business, you're fucked. But if you're in the sharing information business, you're not. If you're in the consuming something, turning it into something meaningful and sharing it with other people, if you're in the teaching or entertaining business, it's not dead. TV is just a fucking platform. You don't need TV. Nobody should have ever been in the TV business or the newspaper business or the radio business. People are just in the sharing the joy of the thing they're interested in business. TV is just a fucking interface, right? So do you think it's good to have multiple passions and diversify your energy into them instead of specializing like Joe Rogan? Joe's a rare individual, but he's just an extension of any of us. Joe was once just a guy. I mean, he still is just a guy, but he was once a guy who wasn't great at a lot of stuff. Here's the thing, and this is my thought on this, and this is from my experience, so something that worked for me, is I learn a lot of things way faster now and have a way deeper connection to a lot of different things. But the way I achieved that was by specializing in something. So Joe and others like him didn't become brilliant at podcasting, comedy, archery, fucking cooking meat, whatever, by doing it a little at a time. He became a master of comedy, and then he became a master of podcasting, and then he became and so you see what happens is by developing mastery in something, that isn't the end of it. Now you're able to go and develop mastery in new things. You can recreate that. You can recreate it. The system, and somebody asked about confidence. Confidence is earned. Confidence is as a result of hard work. Confidence comes from doing. Nobody's confident and then they go and do. People do, and it's hard and scary, and then eventually they develop confidence through developing skill and learning that you can learn. So right now you're like, "Oh, could I learn to play piano?" You go and you learn to play piano, and you're like, fuck, I can learn to play piano. Maybe I could learn to run. Maybe I could learn to climbing. Maybe I could be a mountain climber. And you start to develop that confidence through doing. So I tried selling newspaper door to door for 3 days, and you didn't sell one. Yeah, well, it's going to be very difficult today. People aren't interested in that. So you would go, well, what if I could sell an idea? What if I could write something good on Medium and then share that on Twitter, and maybe one person will read it. As soon as the first one reads it, there's some confidence there. Thanks a lot for answering my question, Rob, and I needed it more than you know. It means a lot to me, man. It means a lot to me. Joe's scary smart, somebody said. He is, but he wasn't always. He was like he is a who he is and what he does is a consequence of the work that he's done and the practice of learning. And all of that is reproducible. You might look and go, wow, I'm not as smart as that guy. No, but you can do the things he did. And you don't have to end up where he ends up, just end up smarter than you are now. And then it's a win. And that's very doable. So I'm going to leave it there today. Um, so I'm hoping this would, I hope this might inspire you to think about it. I don't need you to go and fucking drop everything and start some new thing. Uh, but somebody said, how do you keep the PMA high? I don't know what that means. Should I know what that is? Thanks, bro. Take care. Thanks, Scott. But yeah, just think about it. And we could be here for months. Don't let more days go by where you haven't just started to learn one thing. Just go on Google. There's something you're interested in. Go on Google and just dare to fucking read about it a bit. Watch some videos about it. You know, just it's there. You can do these things. The idea, I'll sort of wrap it up again with the same idea. The idea that the root is go to school, then do this, then do that, and then that'll happen. You're seeing that right now as people are losing their jobs, that didn't actually make sense. Or it isn't stability. The most stable thing you can do is build a little bit of knowledge, build sort of a bit of comfort in being an expert at something, and you can be an expert at something. What if I told you in 5 years, if you worked every day at something you love anyways, it's got to be something you love anyways, um, and study it a little every day because you love it. So why the fuck not? What if I told you in 5 years you would be some level of an expert, certainly a level of expertise that would blow your mind today? Would you do it? Um, because the thing is, I can tell you that. I can tell you with 100% certainty that if you spend a few minutes or an hour a day studying something 5 days a week from now for 5 years, you'll have a mind blowing expertise in it. Now, that expertise will not just be about learning the thing, it will be the excitement of having learned and worked really hard at something. And you'll have developed a little bit of expertise in how to develop a little bit of expertise. And that's the important part. That's where you talk about a Joe Rogan or you talk about these people who can do many things. They didn't just master comedy and then had to start from scratch on archery. The process of training and rest and self improvement, self study and practice and feedback and stuff, that process has been learned. So now you can use it in other things. Let's see what my friend here says. I'm sorry, I can't read your name. It's very small. It's amazing being on this journey with you, Robin. Thank you for blessing us with your knowledge. Oh, man. You're helping people in ways you couldn't even imagine. That's so crazy to hear. If that's true of fucking 20 people, that's amazing. It's really amazing. It's my privilege for fucking real. Because YouTube here, this is just where I hang out now. I don't need to fucking put my breakdowns here. You can see those on Instagram and Twitter and really LinkedIn and Facebook and whatever. This is where I can just think. I don't have to talk about, even within my passion. There was a time I thought I had to talk about Dominic Cruz versus Henry Cejudo in a very specific way. I don't have to do that. It's my fucking channel. It's my channel. I make a good living doing things exactly the way I want to do them. So I can come here and hang out and pontificate about how things work. And that to me, when I figured that out, it took me a couple of years of fucking coming to YouTube to figure that out. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, of course, I don't have a boss. So it's pretty amazing. Already seeing a lot more homeless in my area. Hope everyone as well. That's scary. Breaking news at breaking news. Yeah, it's a tough time out there. Take care of other people. You know, take care of other people. YouTube is like everyone's personal window into their world. Well, thank you guys. Please, if you like this and you're here 25 minutes in, there's a lot of you, please share. Just take the link and share it. and say, hey, you might like this. If you want a t-shirt that says enjoy the hostilities or Bink or a couple other crazy ones, it's shoprobinblack.com. Please follow me on TikTok. Now I'm showing my age. TikTok at Robin Black Bink. I'm at Robin Black Martial Arts on Instagram. All my breakdowns are there together. And I go on Periscope every single day live at Robin Black MMA. You can get there by Twitter too at Robin Black MMA. Robin, what if you have multiple passions? Should I divide and conquer or study all at the same time? Touched on a little. My opinion is heavy, heavy, heavy on the most important or the thing that feels right, light on the others, and that will also change. Because studying martial arts isn't like, what should I just go all in? Well, yes, but in there, I got to study boxing. And I had to study boxing. I fell in love with it. And I studied boxing 2 hours a day with a coach, 2 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week for 3 years. Still did a little jujitsu, still studied, karate, still wrestled a little, still did kickboxing, did some Muay Thai training, but I went heavy on this one. Then a little later, all of a sudden you fall back in love with traditional Muay Thai, start doing that a lot. Then you go and and yes, those are more related than what you're talking about. But if you are doing these things, and you're studying Muay Thai, and then you go over and you start taking piano lessons, those things will cross pollinate. How you're learning the language of piano will connect with how you're learning the language of downhill skiing. So do it all. But but take something that you're really into, even if it's only for 3 weeks or 10 weeks or 2 years, and make that your priority. Start to learn and master that thing. You'll find when you fall in love with the other ones a little bit longer and you spend up, but just have passions. Have something on the front part of your mind, something passion, something that every day you're trying to get a little better at. If you have that, you have everything. From one thing, no 10,000 things. Dustin, yes, exactly. You know, I think that my example of Joe mastering comedy and then learning the tools, experiencing the tools that like I hope one day I could learn to shoot a bow. Like I know how to learn to shoot a bow. I also know everyone starts at white belt. So I'm a white belt bow hunter today. But if I work at it, you just chip away at it. Dan Inosanto was one of Bruce Lee's. He's still alive. He still teaches. I believe he's in his 80s, but I'm not sure. But he studied under Bruce Lee, and then of course Jack Machado said the best student he ever had in his life was Dan Inosanto, because by this point he knew how to learn. So he would show up and be 100% dedicated for his hour a day or whatever it was, consistently building on the knowledge because he didn't have the fear of the unknown. He knew how he would learn because he had learned many times. And so all you got to do is learn a bit, and then you gain a little. Someone had a few questions about confidence. Go do something, learn it, and then get a few small victories in it, and then you're like, holy fuck, that motherfucker Robin Black was right, and others, lots, millions of others, they were right. I learned I couldn't kick above my waist. I couldn't climb two bars. I couldn't do a single chin up. I couldn't play a chord on a piano. Now I can. As soon as you do that, you're like, well, wait a second. Learning has happened. Wait a second. I know how to learn. And then you begin the process. So fuck, go kill it. That's enough of me for today. Thanks. Please share this if you dig it. Appreciate you. Much love.